Good morning, everybody. ABC 24 meteorologist Cory Smith here, and we're going to talk about what we're seeing here across the Mid-South today as what will eventually be the remnants of Francine that moves through the Mid-South. So let's talk about today, a weather impact day here at ABC 24. We're going to talk about the impacts that are ongoing right now and what you can expect as you go throughout the rest of your Thursday. Before we get into things, we are starting to get some announcements from school districts across the Mid-South that they are releasing early. We're going to have all that information on ABC24.com. So make sure you can log on there after this live stream. You can see which schools are releasing early, the times that they're putting out, but we are starting to see that come in as you get a little bit later on into things. So let's start off, talk about the impact for today, why we have a weather impact day, and it's because of the chance of some heavy rain and some gusty winds that we're starting to see move into the Mid-South as of right now. So we're going to be watching for these storms. Make sure that you have a place to be inside, of course, as we get a little bit later on into the day as winds start to get a little bit gusty into the afternoon. We're going to go right over to the radar, show you what's going on right now. Some pretty heavy rain over the Memphis metro. These yellows and oranges that you're seeing on your screen. Rain rates around a half an inch to an inch here across the Memphis metro. We already picked up over an inch of rain in Memphis itself earlier on today. And notice this band a little bit up to the north near Covington. We've seen some rainfall reports, and we'll show you this here in a second, of 2 to 3 inches already with this storm, and the heaviest rain is still down to the south. I'm going to put a loop on this and show you guys what's going on here. So here's that spin with this low pressure. So this is a depression right now. And you're going to see it pushing out really across the entire viewing area at this point. So pretty much all of us are getting rain. The center of the low is way down here at the bottom of your screen, and so there is still quite a bit of rain on the way moving up to the north and northwest that we're going to be dealing with over the next couple of hours. This band right here, setting up in North Mississippi, is where we're going to see some of our gusty winds really start to come into play. We've seen already reports of some tropical storm force wind gusts along this line, and of course heavier rain. So this is where I think the flash flooding concern, especially in Memphis, is going to be something that we're watching for just a little bit more. So let's talk about the track right now. This is now Tropical Depression Francine. As of this morning, weakening from a tropical storm to a tropical depression, and it's moving to the north at 14 miles per hour. Winds sustained of 30 to 35 miles per hour. The track doesn't really move too much over the next 24 hours. Still Friday evening over northeast Arkansas. So we're going to keep the chance of rain around, I think, in the forecast at least somewhat as we head into tomorrow. But overall, the cloud cover is going to be the biggest thing that you notice. I think through maybe even Saturday, we're not going to see too much, if any, sunshine here across the Mid-South. So let's break down what we've seen so far. Like I said, some areas just north of the Memphis metro, this yellow shading that you're seeing right here, 2 to 3 inches of rain already, and we haven't seen the heaviest stuff move through. So that is why I think at this point, flash flooding is going to be our biggest concern as we head a little bit later on in today. Right around 1.5 inches of rain currently that we've seen so far in Memphis over the last 24 hours. Most of us nearing at least an inch, except for Dyersburg, where we really haven't seen too much rain move in quite yet, but these totals will start to go up just a little bit later on. We do have a wind advisory out. That's going to be for the entire viewing area for today, and that's because we do expect wind gusts to get upwards of 40 to 45 miles per hour, enough to cause maybe some isolated power outages as you go throughout the day. We've already seen some power outages here in the Memphis metro. MLGW was around 4,000 people without power the last time I checked. So we are seeing some people impacted by that, and we do have a flood watch out. That's going to be for the entire viewing area. That's the chance of maybe seeing some flooding as you go into the afternoon and evening. So I want to walk you through hour by hour what we're expecting. This is 11 a.m. and I will say our model a little quick with things. So a lot of this really heavy rain still a little bit to the south, but timing is pretty close to what we've been seeing so far today. So as you get around 1 to 2 o'clock, I think that's when we see the heaviest rain here in Memphis, in the Memphis metro. And that's really going to be the chance of seeing probably the best setup for flash flooding here in the region. But this is 4 p.m. The center of what is going to be potentially at that point just a remnant low of Francine. It's going to be bringing in that heavy rain to North Mississippi and continuing here in the Memphis metro through about 4 to 5 p.m. Now, after that, we'll have to see how quickly this is moving. We could start clearing up with some of that more steady precipitation by 7 to 8 p.m. here in Memphis. North Mississippi, you might be done by 5 to 6 p.m. North of that, this is going to linger through about 9 p.m. So when we show the timeline here in a second, we've included the timing out to 9 p.m. just because we're going to see at least this precipitation north of I-40 for at least a couple more hours. But notice by 11 p.m., it's really weakening a lot, and we're not dealing with any downpours, I think, for most of us as we head into the overnight. We'll see some spotty showers here and there, and that trend continues as you go into your Friday. We'll put things for you and show you your Friday. This is Friday morning. Still some very light rain in northeast Arkansas, and this is going to continue as this low just meanders across the region for the next 36 hours through Saturday, even potentially early Sunday. So we can't rule out some spotty showers Friday and even into your Saturday, and we can't rule out at least a couple tropical downpours in the afternoon when we do get at least a little bit of that heating to break through that cloud cover. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, but of course the heavy rain right now is really what we're watching for the most. Our model currently showing around another 1 to 2 inches of rain, potentially here in Memphis. But I want to show you here a lot of locations showing 2 to 4. So I think realistically another 2 to 3 inches of rain for most of the mid-south as we go throughout the rest of this afternoon and evening, which we've already picked up 1 to 2 inches of rain. So this is quite a bit of precipitation in one day, and that is why that flooding concern is here. But this is much needed rain. We're really seeing that drought start to really kick in, and this is going to be some very beneficial rain for the viewing area. Unfortunately, it's all falling on one day. You'd like to have this a little bit more spread out, but no complaints in that regards. But of course, flooding, not something that we like to see. So let's move on to winds, what we're seeing right now. And I want to show you this because these are observed wind gusts currently. Notice this dark blue shading. That's tropical storm force wind gusts when you see those dark blues. So Oxford has, as of 11 a.m., reached around 39-mile-per-hour wind gusts, around 26 here in Memphis and Holly Springs, 25 in Tunica, 26 in Corinth. A little bit less once you get to the north, though, because the core of the system's still working up that way. So these winds will increase, especially north of I-40, as you get into the next couple of hours, and peaking right around 30 to 40 miles per hour. So Oxford probably is, I would say, high as that we can expect here in Memphis. And you'll see that here on our forecast model going throughout the rest of this evening. We are expecting those wind gusts to peak right around 30 to 40 miles per hour as you get into the afternoon, as the center of the system starts to move in. So this is 8 p.m., around 38-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Covington, 34 in Truman, 37 in Dyersburg, 24 in Memphis. So the center of the circulation right here. So winds are a little bit lower once you get right into the center, but still enough to cause, like we said, maybe some sporadic power outages here across the Mid-South. So that's what we'll be watching for. By midnight, though, those wind gusts coming down enough, I think that probably won't be an issue anymore. And as you head into Friday, you can see wind gusts around 10 to 15 miles per hour. So much improved over what we're expecting over the next couple of hours. So I want to show you the timeline right now. Wind and rain is going to be the biggest concern. And let me move the cart out of the way just a little bit here so you can see the full graphic. Between 12 and 9 is when we're expecting the best chance of power outages, flooding, and wind. As you go further north, the later that shifted towards that 9 p.m. ending time. If you're in North Mississippi, like we said, maybe 6 to 7 p.m. where that threat starts to die down. Now notice tornadoes. We haven't really mentioned that too much. I don't think that's really too much of a risk. With the center of the storm right over us, it's typically well east of that where we see these severe setups where we see tornadoes, and that looks to be more over Alabama today. So we can't rule out a spin-up tornado between 2 and 7. Right now, though, really don't think that's too much of a concern. Currently with what we're looking at with the storm, and it's really going to be about that wind and rain. So let's go back to the radar real quick, and then once we take a look at this, we'll see if there's any questions here on the live stream before we log things off here. But you can see at least that heavy precipitation, it's steady now. That's the other thing too, pretty much over the entire viewing area, and we're seeing some pretty heavy rain. And I'll zoom in here as you get down into North Mississippi, Holly Springs, seeing some pretty hefty rainfall rates stretching down over to Senatobia. I'll put some queries on here and just show you guys how heavy this rain is coming down. So about a ½ inch to an inch an hour. National Weather Service will be watching for some of these bands to produce 2 to 3 inches per hour in some of the heavier rainfall. And that's really where we're going to see some of that flash flooding occurring as they go throughout today. But like we said, a couple inches of rain have already fallen. So when you have rainfall rates like this, really starts to compound as we get into the afternoon, as we get more and more of that moisture into the soil. It won't be able to hold on as much, and that's why we see that flooding risk. Let's take a little bit of a broader view here, and I'll move things out and show you guys what's going on here in the Memphis metro. Just some light to moderate rain right now. Not expecting any heavy rain, at least with that band down in North Mississippi, until about 1 to 2 p.m. So we're still about an hour or two out. And in fact, let me put a track on this because it's been moving right around 15 to 20 miles per hour. So let me go ahead and put a track, and we can put some times on this for you guys, moving generally to the north and northeast. So South Haven around 1224, Memphis around 1253. And let me move this out of the way real quick for you guys so you can see the locations. West Memphis right around 119, downtown Memphis right around 102, Forest City 145, and Covington right around 205. So like I said, around that 1 to 2 o'clock time frame, I think for most of the Memphis metro, that we see at least that heavy rain, and that's when we're going to start to notice, I think, those wind gusts getting a little bit heavier there. So that's what we'll be watching as we get into this afternoon. Let me walk off real quick and see if we got any questions on the live stream right now about any impacts that we're seeing. So CJ's asking about lightning with these storms. So that's kind of an interesting thing about tropical systems, is that we typically don't see too much in the way of lightning outside of those feeder bands that are well off from the center of rotation. And we are going to be right in the center of rotation with this storm. So let me clear this out and show you guys what's going on a little bit more regionally with this, and I'll put a loop on this so you can see the system itself. Here's the center of rotation. This is what's moving into the mid-south. So really, we wouldn't expect thunderstorm activity until you get out into these bands out east. And like we said, the biggest tornado threat out in Alabama, where we're seeing some of these thunderstorms along these feeder bands. So that is why at least the severe weather threat looks a little bit reduced for us, but we're going to be dealing with higher winds and also higher rainfall rates here as this gets up into the area. But with that being said, I think that went through most of the questions that we got. So what I'm going to do is get you here, look at the radar. Let me get you back to the local radar. I'll put a little loop on this real quick, but I think that should end things here. Like I said, we're going to have the latest information on abc24.com. We have all the schools releasing early. We did get that information in just during the midday show, so make sure you're tuning into all of our live streams. We're going to have a couple more as you go throughout the day. If there's any flash flood warnings, we'll let you know, and we'll give you updates on power outages. But with that being said, we're going to wrap things up. We'll see you in just a